Hey, I'm on the roof. So what a lot of people do is they create a new layer, they do multiply, all seems good, but then they grab the airbrush, which is like, it's okay. And a lot of times they grab a desaturated color. I'm grabbing something a little more saturated for the sake of my own eyes. And then, you can clip the layer, by the way. Then what they do is they just create these lines on either side, which on one case is kind of good because you show the form of the clothes, but on the other hand, just this soft shading doesn't really match the style of the gacha characters with their bold, thick lines and everything, and the shadows usually tend to be too soft, so there's no structure, there is no form, and there's like very little wrinkles most time. Like you can't tell where any of the wrinkles are. You could hardly make wrinkles with an airbrush because the airbrush is just so soft. What a lot of people do is they just do this and they call it a day, which there is no right or wrong way to do art, but there is better ways to do things. And I know for a fact you wouldn't like this style and you'd like a nicer one. So in my opinion, this style is nicer. What you can do now is make a new layer and then select the base color and continuously tap. When you continuously tap, it thins out the line art. Also, if your color goes over the lines, just adjust your bucket settings, okay? Adjust the strength, alright? I'm gonna use dip pen hard, and I edited it to taper the corners. Now I'm going over some of the thicker lines, just manually, just so that things can be a little more even. Yeah, this part is optional, but I prefer doing this. Anyways. So now I'm just using felt tip pen, either soft or hard. It doesn't really matter. So then what you want to do is you can just go over any of the lines, like with the eraser, because as I said before, the lines can overflow. Now we're just using the alpha layer, and I'm using an airbrush and dabbing the skin color onto the sleeves and onto the top area. You can get a blue color for like reflection, but it doesn't really matter. Anyways, get a new layer, set it to clipping, and set it to multiply. And anyways, I'm just using this just to test it out and see how it looks. And then I realized that I didn't put it on multiply, so don't be an idiot, don't be me. Anyways, now here I'm using dip pen hard, and again I edit it so that the corners, like the tips of the thing, could be sharper. Yeah. And now, I bet you're wondering, oh Dina, how do I know where to add my shadows? Well, there's a thing called references, and I would suggest you use them. Also, as you can see, I'm usually just following the lines that are already created through the line art, and then I'm just making some areas thicker and thinner. A lot of shadows in clothes are triangles, you know, thicker from where they originate, and then thinner as they go outwards. Okay? So a lot of shadows can just be made as like really big triangles. Alright, you understand? And you see the parts that stick out, like the parts that do kind of have wrinkles or shapes in the clothes. I kind of just create a line from there and then just extend it outwards and make it taper. Taper means when it goes thinner, you know? Yeah. Like a triangle. The tinier part tapers. Yeah. Anyways, so I am just selecting the base color of the pants because I forgot it earlier. So yeah, now I'm just reselecting the color of the multiply layer. And so here, of course there are wrinkles and shadows that you should pay attention to, but also pay attention to cast shadow. Cast shadow is like my arm is in front of my shirt. So there will be a shadow on my shirt from my arm. You know that? Yeah. Okay. So, as you can see here, a lot of my shadows are just made up of triangles, and I make larger shadows in the middle of the shirt because with my knowledge of clothes, it gets loose there, and because of gravity, your wrinkles go down, and there in the middle of the shirt is where there's the least amount of tension, so a lot of folds and wrinkles usually can just drop down there. So after you have your main folds, then it's easier to just go in there with a smaller brush and just put some things in between your other folds, and little by little things look more and more detailed, okay? Anyways, so I'm just going in with a smaller brush in between a lot of my shadows, and it makes it really easy. Yeah. Anyways, so this is a bit of a tedious process, but next what you're going to do is you're going to use the blur, and then you're going to blur just the edges of the shadows, okay? You can blur the tops of some of them, but I would recommend that you just blur the ends, okay? Ignore the fact that I sound like a prepubescent little boy, okay? So my throat hurts, that's all. So just only blur the edges, that way it looks like it's fading into the rest of the cloth. Yeah. Anyways, so after that long, boring, tedious, stupid process, you can look into adding more shadows, and then, you know, you can make the choice of, hey, that was a really stupid idea and I shouldn't do that, and that's okay, because unlike life, art programs have an undo button. Wonderful, right? Anyways, I alpha locked the shading layer. Now I'm using a darker color, and I'm airbrushing it onto the bottom parts, because when I airbrush it onto the bottom part, it gives the shadows a little more dimension. It's like, oh my god, they changed color, and it makes it look a little bit cooler. Yeah. You could also get a blue color and dab it on if it looks good, but for some colors it just makes it look muddy, okay? Color theory. So just, you know, just put it on there for now and see if it looks bad. So create a new layer, and then I'm using Dip Pen Hard, and I'm creating very little details, like this little stitch that I see at the side of pants, because I think, oh my god, it's details, and for some reason it makes it look like, oh, those are jeans. I know I put the stitch in the wrong place, give me a break, it's like midnight right now. It's not midnight, it's 12 p.m. It's 11 p.m, wow, that sounds so stupid. Anyways, so, now I am dabbing onto the lighter color, and now I am creating little triangles so that it could be like, oh my god, highlights, and then it can look a little more detailed, because you know, details, baby, they make things look complicated, right? So yeah, just color drop and then create your little triangles, create your little Illuminati triangles. And if it looks a bit harsh to you, then no problem, just use the blur and blur the edges of it. Just a little bit, okay? Anyways, I usually like to work with triangles when I do clothes, because a lot of folds and wrinkles are triangles. A trick to doing art is just break things down into simple shapes. It really does help so much. Anyways, now I am creating like these extra kind of wrinkles and stuff in the clothes, just so that things can look a little bit more like they overlap each other, and it looks a little more detailed. Like, you know, it just looks so much cooler that way. It's just such a great idea, so you should be grateful that I'm showing you these things. Just kidding, you don't need to be grateful. Okay, but you should be, and you could do that by smashing the like button like I smashed your mom. Just kidding. I'm sorry. Anyways, so creating a new layer, I'm setting it on overlay, and I'm setting it on multiply, and then I'm just creating a little neck shadow, okay? You don't need to do this part, but I like to do this because it makes it look like my head actually is attached to my body. Then you can alpha lock it, get a airbrush, and then you can just dab on a cooler color at the top, or even whatever colors in the background, such as the green from the hair. Okay, really easy. Making a new layer, putting it to overlay this time, choosing a warm color, and I'm just selecting the opacity of the base layer. And as you can see, I'm just dabbing it onto the areas that I want a little bit of warmth and color and glow. It looks beautiful, so thank you so much for watching the tutorial. Take care and leave any questions in the comments. See ya!